It's 2012. And somewhere in Florida, a man wakes up to a notification that will detonate his entire life. His private moments, the ones he shared behind closed doors in trust with people he called friends, are now streaming on the internet for anyone to watch: his family, his kids, his colleagues. 5 million people and counting. And the worst part? He had no idea it was ever filmed. Pause. Today's case is one of the most explosive legal battles in American media history. It involves a fallen icon, a secret recording, a vengeful billionaire, and a media empire that picked the wrong fight and paid for it with everything. Engagement prompt: deliver conversationally. Hey, before we go any further, drop a comment right now. Where are you watching from? I want to see just how far this story is reaching today. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because this is exactly the kind of case we cover on this channel. Stay with me. It only gets wilder from here. To understand how Terry ended up at the center of one of the biggest privacy lawsuits in U.S. history, you have to understand where his life was when this whole thing started. Terry was a legend, a household name, a man who had spent decades building one of the most recognizable public personas in American entertainment. But behind the image, behind all the bravado and the spotlight, his personal life was quietly falling apart. His marriage was crumbling. His wife had discovered he had been unfaithful. And not just with anyone, allegedly with a friend of their daughter's, all adults. But still a betrayal that cut deep. And once she found out, she was done. She filed for divorce. And Terry, this titan, this man who had performed in front of 90,000 screaming fans, he packed a bag and moved into a hotel room, alone, so that his wife and kids could stay in the family home. And when the door of that hotel room clicked shut behind him, the weight of all of it just landed on him. He was devastated, isolated, and completely unraveling in private. When you're falling apart, you lean on the people closest to you. For Terry, that was his best friend, a guy we'll call Bubba. Bubba was a radio personality. Loud, larger than life, the kind of guy who could make you laugh even on your worst day. And Bubba had a wife. We'll call her Heather. Together, Bubba and Heather were the fun couple, the ones who made everything feel lighter. But there was something about their marriage that was unconventional. Bubba and Heather had what people call an open relationship. Specifically, Bubba was comfortable with, even enthusiastic about, his wife being intimate with other men. That was their arrangement, their choice, and for them, apparently, it worked. Now, Heather had developed attraction to Terry, and at some point, when Terry was at his lowest, Bubba came to him with an offer. Terry agreed. And over the following weeks, Terry visited their home on more than one occasion. Each time, there was a sense of release, of connection, of friendship. What made it feel safe was the trust. These were his people, his inner circle, and after those visits, Terry would open up, share things he hadn't told anyone, about his kids, about his fears, about how wrecked the divorce had left him. He felt lucky to have them. He had no idea what Bubba had set up in that bedroom. Let it breathe. Hidden silent, recording everything. 5 years passed. Terry had moved on, rebuilt, regrouped, gotten back to his life. That chapter with Bubba and Heather was a distant memory. Something private, something buried. And then, just like that, it wasn't. A website called The Dirty posted screenshots, images pulled from a video. That video. And within hours, the screenshots made their way to a bigger platform, a media gossip website out of New York City called Gawker. Gawker didn't just write about it, they published it. 2 full minutes of a 30-minute recording embedded directly on their website. No blurring, no warning, just out there. For anyone to click. 5 million page views. 5 million. Think about that for a second. Think about waking up and finding out that the most vulnerable, most private moment of your life has been turned into content. That your kids could search your name and find it. That strangers on the subway are watching it on their lunch break. That you never consented to a single second of it being filmed. Engagement prompt? Casual? Real? I want to know, what time is it where you are right now? Drop it in the comments. Because no matter what time you're watching this, I promise it only gets more unbelievable. Terry was blindsided. He was furious. He felt violated in a way that most of us will never fully understand, and he had every right to. He hired a lawyer. The lawyer contacted Gawker. They asked, politely, for the video to be removed. Gawker said no. If you're locked in, smash that like button right now. Because the decision Gawker made in that moment, it cost them everything. And we're just getting started. Here's where this story stops being about a sex tape and starts being about something much bigger. Lawsuits are expensive, ruinously expensive. And Terry's financial situation wasn't what it used to be. Reports suggested his divorce had cost him the majority of their shared assets. Taking on a major media company in federal court, The kind of litigation that drags on for years, across multiple legal teams. That's not just millions of dollars. That's everything. And Gawker knew that. Media companies have fought these battles before. They have legal infrastructure. They have resources. The strategy was simple. Outlast him. Make it so painful and so expensive that Terry eventually walks away. That strategy might have worked. Except for one person, Peter Thiel. If you don't know that name, Peter Thiel is a Silicon Valley billionaire, co-founder of PayPal, one of the first investors in Facebook. A man with more money than most small nations, he is also gay. And years before Terry's tape ever leaked, Gawker had outed him, published his sexuality without his consent before he was ready in a piece designed to humiliate. They also ran other articles mocking him, prodding him, treating his private life as entertainment. Peter Thiel never forgot it. He had been quietly waiting for a way to dismantle Gawker legally for years. And when Terry's lawsuit landed on the radar, he saw his moment. Thiel's legal team reached out to Terry's attorneys in secret. No press releases, no public statements. Thiel began quietly and visibly, bankrolling the entire lawsuit, paying the legal fees, funding the fight. Gawker had no idea they weren't just fighting a wrestler. They were fighting a billionaire with a grudge. C3, different energy, quieter and direct. Pause for a second. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because what's about to drop next in this story is the moment everything gets so much darker, and you do not want to miss it. While the lawsuit against Gawker was slowly grinding through the courts, another piece of footage surfaced, and this one was different. This wasn't intimate. This was a conversation, caught on the same hidden camera from the same bedroom from one of those evenings years before. In the footage, Terry is talking, venting, the way you do when you think no one is listening except a friend. He's talking about his daughter's boyfriend, who is black. And what comes out of his mouth is, there's no diplomatic way to say this, it's deeply racist. He uses the N-word, repeatedly, with full venom behind it. And he goes further, going on an extended rant about black people that is, by any measure, shocking. Not caught on a bad day, shocking, revealing shocking. The kind of thing that makes you reread everything you thought you knew about a person. WWE, the organization that had built its brand around him for decades, didn't hesitate. They cut him. His contract gone, his merchandise pulled, his profile scrubbed from their official website as if he had never existed. And then, the thing that probably stung the most, he was removed from the WWE Hall of Fame. He had to sit down in front of cameras and publicly apologize. The clip aired everywhere. He looked hollowed out. "I'm not a racist," he said. "I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it." Whether you believed him or not, that was his public reckoning. And now the man suing Gawker for privacy violations was himself the subject of a very different kind of exposure. The court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. The legal court was still to come. 3 years. That's how long this case dragged through the American legal system. 3 years of depositions, motions, legal arguments, and war of attrition. All of it building toward a single question that had implications far beyond one man's private tape. Where does the First Amendment end? And where does a person's right to privacy begin? Gawker's argument was straightforward. Terry was a public figure. His sex life had been the subject of public commentary. Publishing the tape was an act of journalism, newsworthy, protected, legal. Terry's team argued something simpler. No one consented to being filmed. No public figure surrenders the right to privacy in their own bedroom. The trial was held in St. Petersburg, Florida. When the jury came back, the room went silent. $140 million. Not the $100 million Terry had sued for. More. The jury had looked at what Gawker did, looked at how they responded, the defiance, the refusal to take the video down, the legal posturing, and they decided to send a message. Gawker appealed. But the damage was done. The company that had laughed off a cease and desist letter was now staring at a financial crater it could not climb out of. A few months later, Gawker Media filed for bankruptcy. The website, which had once commanded millions of readers and saw itself as untouchable, went dark. They ultimately settled with Terry for $31 million, not $140 million, not even close, but $31 million, and more importantly, Gawker was gone. Peter Thiel had spent years and millions of dollars on this mission, and it worked. Engagement prompt, warm, pull them in, real quick. What's the weather like where you are right now? Sunny? Rainy? Drop it below. Because this story's been a whole storm from start to finish. So where does that leave us? Gawker is gone. Peter Thiel's decade-long grudge? Settled, quietly, expensively, decisively. Terry walked away with $31 million and a permanently complicated legacy. Because here's the truth about this case, and it's uncomfortable. Terry is both victim and villain in the same story. He was genuinely wronged, filmed without his consent, humiliated on a global platform, And the legal system, for once, actually sided with the individual over the media corporation. That matters. That set precedent. But he also said what he said, on camera, with full conviction, and no lawsuit, no settlement, no legal victory erases that. This case forced America to ask a question it still hasn't fully answered. In the digital age, does anyone, public figure or not, retain the right to a private life? Courts said yes. But the internet doesn't forget. And once something is out there, once 5 million people have clicked play, no ruling brings it all the way back. That's the part no settlement can fix. A hidden camera, a stolen DVD, a billionaire operating in the shadows, and a jury that handed down one of the largest invasion of privacy verdicts in American history. This case didn't just end one man's career, it ended a media empire. And it started a conversation about power, privacy, and who gets to decide what the public has a right to see that we are still having today. So here's the question I'll leave you with. If Gawker had just taken the video down, would any of this have happened? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely want to know what you think. If this case had you locked in from the jump, subscribe to the channel right now. Every week, we cover real cases that the mainstream glosses over. Click the notification bell so you never miss one. And if you want to go deeper, the next video is already waiting for you. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.